This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs, presented by Yahoo Fantasy. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and I am joined by fellow top 6 season-long ranker over the past 3 seasons at Fantasy Pros, the odds maker, Sean Koerner. Sean, what is going on? We're going to break down some rookie quarterbacks today.
Yeah, not going to lie. These are like low-key some of my favorite pods, these rookie drafts. Just love talking about rookies, especially with preseason coming up, but also drafting against you and then getting to look at like last year's results. I might have gotten you in like running back, wide receiver, but you definitely beat me in this draft last year at quarterback.
Yeah, and I'll get into the results in a minute, but before we do, and then we'll do our 2025 rookie draft. We'll go 5 rounds, but if you're getting ready to dominate your fantasy football league, why not use the same projections that Sean and I use? Well, guess what? You can. Our Fantasy Labs NFL subscription gives you access to all of our player projections, rankings, customizable draft cheat sheets, and more. New subscribers, you can use code FLEX20, that's FLEX20, for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. So go win your league. Use code FLEX20, that's FLEX20, for 20 cash off at fantasylabs.com/flex. All right, last year there were a bunch of guys. We went 10 rounds, or 5 rounds last year, and a bunch of guys were kind of inconsequential, but I'll just go through it. I went with Daniels at pick 1, then Bo Nix at 3, Penix at 5, Milton at 7, and Devin Leary at 9. And you went Caleb Williams 2nd, Drake May 4th, and then it went kind of south a little bit with J.J. McCarthy and Michael Pratt in the next 2. But then you rallied with Spencer Rattler. But overall, I ended up with the 2 probably most important picks in Daniels, who finished as a QB5 at a QB14 ADP, and then Nix was up to QB7 at a QB32 ADP. Williams beat his ADP by about 1, by 1. He was QB17 in our draft. I finished as QB16, and then Drake May was up to QB23, and Rattler, he ended up posting some usable weeks, but didn't really do enough because I think our cutoff last year was 40. So we'll actually go a little deeper this year with our cutoff. We were just using 40 as the cutoff for I think everyone outside the top 40, but we'll go into the 60s this time. So overall, I was averaging a -5 versus ADP. We're averaging a -16. So, and I also had the first pick. So this year, you could have the first pick. You can get your revenge. I'll just run through the rookies and their consensus ADP this year. Cam Ward, QB25. Tyler Shuck, QB32. Dart at 33. Shador Sanders at QB35. Then you got Jalen Milroe at 37. Dylan Gabriel of the Browns at 42. Quinn Ewers at 47. And Will Howard at 50. Curtis Rourke at 53. And everyone else will count as QB 68 because they are currently going without being drafted by the consensus. So we'll kind of measure versus those ADPs as so much as we can. So it should be pretty interesting, Sean. Round 1, you pick, then I'll pick, then we'll do it over 4 more times. Who you got?
Yeah, so this year's class isn't quite as good. And when we play this game, I'm also just trying to think about their floor, and that's 0 starts. So I'm going to go the safe route here, and I'm actually going to go with the top guy in Cam Ward at QB25 because I think he's the only really surefire bet to start week 1 and start every game that he's healthy this year. And not that it really mattered, but Will Levis, his backup, already suffered a season-ending injury. So, I mean, he's going to have no competition. I love him as a prospect. To be fair, he probably would have been the 4th quarterback in last year's draft class, just for perspective on how much weaker this year's class is. But if you ever watch him play, like, he's very calm and collected in the pocket, has some rushing upside. Whenever I watch him, he reminds me of like a smaller Dante Culpepper. I think he's like that type of quarterback. So I think it's going to be a pretty seamless transition for him to the NFL. Granted, he is on the Titans, but I think he's going to help elevate everybody around him. So I think QB 25 might be, his median where he's going to finish. But I think out of all these guys, he definitely has the safest floor. So that's why I'm going to go with Cam Ward here with the QB 25 consensus ADP.
Yeah, he's definitely got the best floor ceiling combo, I think, at this in of the rookies. I mean, to your point, he's the only guy really guaranteed to start week one. I think Callahan wouldn't mind throwing the ball a ton more. We've seen him do it in Cincinnati. So, with a decent quarterback at the helm now, it really is just going to come down to, can they find somebody dependable outside of Calvin Ridley among all those rookies? I mean, any thoughts on any pass catchers that you think could help Ward out? I know you got like Tremere DK and who else you got there? Restrepo's undrafted guy. You got, I mean, they're just, and then you got veterans like Jefferson. You got Iumanor, the rookie. I mean, there's just so many guys. I don't even know how to. Let me say, how do you pronounce his name?
Iumanor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Iumanor. Yeah. There's a lot of guys.
Your boy James Prochet. I think that's what preseason is going to be for, is sorting out this mess. Treylon Burks already got hurt and they cut him, so he's no longer an option. So yeah, I think we'll just see who emerges. Restrepo, definitely not the top prospect, but that was Cam Ward's top receiver at Miami. So they have that. What is it? The locker room narrative, the shower narrative. That's his boy. So we'll see if he makes some noise. But I think Chigokwanku at tight end, and even like a guy like Tajay Spears is a good pass catching back. I think it's just going to be a collection of everybody. But yeah, I'm interested to see, who emerges as like the number 2 receiver out of this mix. But they definitely have some options.
Yeah, that's really the thing that I think is going to kind of determine the upside, because he does have enough rushing upside, and he is going to get the start. So interested to see how camp kind of plays out in that receiving corps for the Titans. All right, well, now this draft gets difficult.
Yeah.
So I have to. I mean, you went Cam Ward, high floor guy. I'm gonna have to go with the guy I think is gonna make the next most starts, even though I don't think he'd average the most points per game, per start, than some of these other guys. I do think Tyler Shuck is going to make the second most starts. I think he's in a good spot going up against Rattler. Kellen Moore is an offensive-minded coach, so he could surprise the people. I just don't think you draft a guy like Shuck, older guy, 26, I believe, Louisville, in the second round. A lot of people had him as a third rounder, maybe even late third into the fourth, even to a day 3 pick, and he ended up going, with the 8th pick of the second round. I think you draft a guy like that because you're looking for a guy that's ready to start immediately, and Shuck that was one of his kind of positives, was, okay, he's a pro-ready guy. So, I mean, he does have issues with, I think he could be a little skittish in the pocket at times, but again, Kellen Moore is a guy I do trust running offenses. So the fact that, he comes on board and they draft this guy way ahead of consensus, I do think they're going to throw him out there. And I mean, given what Rattler showed last year, I don't think there was enough there to really give him too much more. And this is a new regime. So I think Shucks, it's going to be ugly. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Davis Mills type of situation, where Mills ended up starting, I think, like 14 or so games as a rookie. Wasn't really super impressive, but did enough to kind of stay out there. I think that's kind of what you're hoping for with Shuck. And if you're in like one of those, 2 QB super flex leagues where, all the quarterbacks are going to get taken, I think you could do worse than Shuck as a QB 32, because I do think he gets most of the starts, if not all of them. And I do think he starts week 1. Fantasy Flex listeners, Chris Raybon here. If you have ever wanted to hang out with me and the odds maker Sean Koerner in person, here's your chance. We've got a live Fantasy Flex event presented by Yahoo Fantasy happening on August 23rd at Joe's Bar on Weed Street in Chicago. It's totally free. You just need to RSVP to save your spot. And like I said, I'll be there. Koerner will be there. We'll have some other special guests that you might know as well. So be there on August 23rd. It's Joe's on Weed Street. We're going to do a live draft and grade it. We're going to watch some games. So just be sure to follow the link in the episode description. Presented by Yahoo Fantasy. All right, round 2. Where are you going?
Yeah, I agree with your pick with Shuck at QB 32. I think in these first couple rounds we got to go with the highest floor, and now it really opens up because I don't know if we can really pencil in anybody to get more than 10 starts, but I'm gonna go with probably the best bet of the next 6 or 7 guys, and that's Jackson Dart. To potentially get 10 starts. I think he's probably not going to start week 1. I think it's already a given. It'll be Russell Wilson. And if Russell Wilson gets hurt, I think it'll be Jameis Winston. So I think the plan is to have Dart, sit on the bench for who knows how many games. But I think eventually Dable's going to have to turn to Dart and see what they got in him. And the thing with Dart is he has massive rushing upside. So that's going to be key for him to put up stats as a rookie. I think he's going to be very raw as a passer coming from Ole Miss, but he does have, a elite young wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. So maybe that'll help him, right away. So I think Dart, it's very risky because he could finish outside of the top 40 easily if he doesn't get starts by midseason. But I think just based on his floor ceiling combo, I'm going to have to go with Dart here with his consensus ADP at QB 33.
Yeah, that's the smart play. I think we're seriously underestimating how soon he could start. I remember with Dable in Buffalo, and they drafted Josh Allen, and he was kind of thought of as a project. There were a lot of question marks about just how raw he was, and I think it took all of a game, and I think he was in the starting lineup by week 2. So you could see something like that. I mean, Russell Wilson, when he looks bad, he looks bad. And when Jameis Winston looks bad, he looks bad. Both of those guys could conceivably play in week 1 against, remember Washington against Detroit in the playoffs? That could happen. It could be a massacre. I hope not, because I have money on the Giants. I think that line was high at, over around a touchdown, over a touchdown. But the downside is still there for those guys to just get, shellacked. And then even if Dart is in an inactive week 1 as the QB3 emergency quarterback, I can see him starting week 2 because we know what Russ is and we know what Jameis is at this point. So I think, why would you kind of allude to starting, putting more pressure on Dart than if he's, in the case that he's not ready? I think you would just kind of keep that close to the vest anyway. So I'm not buying that they really want to let him sit very long at all. So I think that's the right pick here. And now, it gets even tougher. I'm going to go with Milroe he's QB 37 at ADP. Shador Sanders goes ahead of him. I'm not buying the Shador hype. It just reminds me of Johnny Manziel. When Johnny Manziel was a Brown, it's like there was so much hype, and it's like based on what he did in college, but I just don't think Shador is that much of a needle mover, even on his own team. This was a team that drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round and didn't draft Shador until the 5th round. This is a quarterback who the entire league passed over for, four rounds, of the draft, when there were at times people who thought that Shador was the favorite to go as the 1st overall pick or in the top 5. So I just don't think that the kind of consensus market view of Shador, I still don't think it aligns with what the league's view and the Browns' view of him is. So I gotta go Milroe here, just based on the potential for him to have like an Anthony Richardson type of production if he gets in the lineup. Now he might make 0 starts, but I got to take some shots here because I'm already behind the 8 ball with you getting you getting Cam Ward and Dart, who I still think is the 3rd best bet for starts, and there's like a pretty big gap. So Just gonna take a moonshot here with Milrow, but if he gets in the line, I don't care. Like you pick him up off your waivers if you're in a redraft
Right.
league. Even if, I mean, you see any slippage from Darnold, I would speculatively stash a guy like Milrow because he's a guy I think that does have that Anthony Richardson type, top four upside any given week, just based on the fact that he can just sling it downfield and he's gonna run a ton. So, Milrow for me. All right, round 3. We got we're down to we got Shador still on the board, Dylan Gabriel, Ewers, Will Howard.
Yeah.
The names are it's not too intriguing here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Dylan Gabriel at QB 42 here. And I'm looking at last year's numbers. Like, he'll probably need to start 2 or 3 games to clear this ADP, but I think it's definitely possible, even though we're heading into preseason with the quarterback room looking very crowded. Joe Flacco possibly being the week 1 starter. There's still a chance that Flacco might not even make the team. Kenny Pickett's already hurt. Shador Sanders, like you said, was drafted 2 rounds after Dylan Gabriel. So, the Browns spent a 3rd round pick on Gabriel, so they're going to give him every shot to be the week 1 starter, or at least give him starts in season. And, he's a smaller quarterback. He's 5'11", but if you watch him play, he kind of reminds me of Tua. He could sling it, and he has rushing upside. So I think if he gets starts, I think he's going to be leveraging his rushing ability, get points that way. But he's a guy that I would not be shocked, even though it's a crowded room, that he does end up getting 3+ starts this year. I don't think that would be that crazy. So at QB 42, that would be more than enough games, or like usable games, to clear QB 42. So it's a risky play here because he might not play at all this year. But I think just given who else is left, I think he's the best play right here.
Oh yeah, I would have definitely taken him if you didn't. I think again, you have to go by draft pedigree, and like when a quarterback goes from top 5 to the 5th round, and a guy like Gabriel goes ahead of him on the same team, I think, especially with the lack of competition. I know there's a lot of bodies there, but there's not much competition. You're talking about a ancient Flacco and a already banged up Pickett, who's been terrible for pretty much his entire career, and then Shador. So yeah, I think Gabriel could very well end up leading the Browns in starts this year. I gotta go Shador here. I don't want to, but I can't let you get both Browns rookies. That could just be disaster. That could just end my whole draft. So I actually probably, I think there are some quarterbacks who have more upside, if they on a per game basis, that still are unpicked. But this is just more of a game theory pick. I got to go Shador here. I'm just not very high on him again. I think the fact that the Browns went into camp with, not 3 but 4 quarterbacks who, 4 viable quarterbacks, the fact that he got passed over until the 5th round, the fact that they drafted a whole other quarterback ahead of him and snuck that quarterback into day 2 as well. I just think none of it bodes well. But again, the Browns depth chart at quarterback still is very bad. When you have 4 quarterbacks, you have none. So Shador it is. But I mean, what are your thoughts on Shador? Because I know we haven't had to talk about him because he's largely irrelevant in most fantasy leagues.
Yeah, I think, he's going to the Browns are going to give him a shot, to be a starting quarterback. So I think the fact that he did end up there in the 5th round was maybe his best case scenario, because I think he is talented. I think the reason he fell to the 5th round might be sort of off field concerns or things like that, but he was very talented. He gives me sort of Jared Goff vibes, for being the son of arguably the best athlete the NFL has seen in Deion Sanders. Sure, Sanders isn't that way. He's not a running quarterback. He's a strict pocket passing quarterback, but he looked pretty sharp. So I think he could surprise, especially in preseason. So again, this is just a wide open depth chart where Flacco might not make the team, Pickett's hurt, and we end up seeing Shador Sanders start week 1. I think he would, be a potential QB 24, but he doesn't offer rushing upside, so that's why he's not really dart throw in the later rounds. But he has every chance in the world on this depth chart to start games this year. So I would have gone back to him if you didn't draft him here. I would have drafted him as well and kind of hedged my bets with him and Gabriel. But I think those two guys, I think they combine for over half the starts this year, just based on the depth chart. So, but yeah, he's still enigma to me. But I would. He was a decent pocket passer in college. I would be shocked if he does, at least impress at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, in the Browns, I mean, what worries me about the Browns though is that I mean they've had some bad quarterbacks taking reps. I mean, their quarterback evaluation process just seems so bad lately. I mean, from Watson to DTR to, I mean, they've had some of the worst. Winston was just throwing pick sixes left and right. I mean, they've had just some what an adventure. So I'm not too bullish on
Right.
any of these guys. I mean, but I get it. I mean, I think he's probably going to make starts,
Yeah.
but he's probably behind Gabriel at this point for 4 starts. So it makes sense that you took him for Gabriel ahead of Shador. All right, so yeah, we're about halfway through our 2025 rookie quarterback draft here on the Fantasy Flex. So let's do a quick segment presented by Yahoo Fantasy on rookie QB sleepers. Maybe it's someone we already selected. Maybe it's someone we're about to pick next. But Koerner, who is your top rookie sleeper from the 2025 QB class?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jackson Dart here. And, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck are the rookies more likely to start early in the season. That's why they're going ahead of Dart. I think Dart might not make starts until week 2, 5, midseason. Who knows? But when he does take over, he has the most rushing upside, maybe outside of Jalen Milroe. But Dart has Josh Allen type rushing upside, in my opinion. And he's very raw as a passer, but the fact that he does have Malik Neighbors, I think will help him as a rookie. So it's almost a matter of, when, not if he'll make start this year. So if you can, afford to stash him on your bench or have a way to have him on your team in a deeper league, I think he makes the most sense because he does have a ton of upside. We just don't know what week it'll happen. So he's my sleeper pick from this year's rookie class.
Yeah, and you mentioned another guy, Jalen Milroe. He's my rookie sleeper. He is probably going to start the season as the third quarterback on the depth chart, but he is a very intriguing prospect for fantasy, at least because he has that deep ball and that extreme rushing upside as well. And I think if he is the starter, he's a guy that you're going to kind of tailor your offense to him and you're going to call more design runs. He's going to scramble a ton. So he has that Anthony Richardson type upside that we've seen out of Richardson when he's in there, even though he's struggled with some of the finer nuances of quarterback play. So if Milroe gets on the field, I think he'd be a decent bet to outscore on a per game basis all of the other rookie quarterbacks, even Cam Ward, just based on his rushing upside. So just don't know if Milroe is going to get on the field at all. Although there was talk at times about him maybe doing some Taysom Hill type stuff, but we'll see if that happens. I doubt it. So it's a pretty big gamble, but I do think he is a sleeper who could end up as a top 10 quarterback if he's getting on the field. All right. Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe, those are your 2025 rookie quarterback sleepers presented by Yahoo Fantasy here on the Fantasy Flex. And as a reminder, this episode of the Fantasy Flex is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back, so fire up those group chats, get those draft boards ready, and buckle up because it's going to be a season filled with breakouts, busts, overreactions, puff pieces, and so much more. And it'll all be happening on Yahoo Fantasy. That's where Sean and I are going to be playing this year, and you should too. So whether you're a first timer or you're a veteran firing up that 1 millionth fantasy league, now is the time to get hyped for Yahoo Fantasy. We love everything that they're doing over there at Yahoo Fantasy, especially the user interface, those post-draft report cards, of course. And we're super excited to check out all of their new innovative features that they'll be rolling out this season. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is going to be dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. And it all begins on August 4th. So stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League today at yahoofantasy.com/flex. That's yahoofantasy.com/flex. All right, round 4 of our 2025 rookie quarterback draft. Sean Koerner, who we got?
This is when it gets really fun, and that's why I'm going to go with Cam Miller. I get the nice safety net of QB68. I'm assuming he doesn't attempt a single pass this year, but out of these guys, I think there is a path for him. Obviously, Geno Smith is the starting quarterback for the Raiders. He will start as long as he's healthy. So Cam Miller's main competition to be the backup is Aiden O'Connell. My boy, Aiden O'Connell, Officer Farva, who, was drafted in the 4th round by the last regime. This regime drafted Cam Miller in the 6th round. He's out of North Dakota State, and we've seen quarterbacks like Carson Wentz come from there and have a couple of good seasons. And Cam Miller actually set the records for most passing yards in a season for North Dakota State, led them to 2 national titles. And more importantly, he has massive, massive rushing upside. So, if he does happen to beat out Aiden O'Connell to be the backup and get some starts, I think he could put up some decent numbers. Hopefully for the Raiders, they don't have to start him. But I think just given the fact that his ADP is so low, QB 68, for the sake of the game, I have to go with him here in round 4.
I like it. Now, that's a smart play. You take that QB 68 ADP. That could be a big help there, because these guys, it's all a crapshoot here. I am kind of happy you went Miller though, because I really did want another guy that's QB 68, and that's Riley Leonard of the Colts, and that's basically because the 2 quarterbacks ahead of him are Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Both of them have trouble throwing the football accurately and, so doing things that NFL quarterbacks do. So if they're both bad, which I'm hoping Richardson, I'm pretty optimistic on Richardson, I think, at least for fantasy, but it's possible that, Richardson is bad, Jones is bad, or Jones is bad, Richardson gets hurt, or vice versa, or both get hurt. Those guys both run more than average. So that could lead to Leonard, who's already, kind of generating some buzz in camp, is a guy that can provide some of that same dual threat ability as well. Did have, I think it was a little over 900 rushing yards last season. And, one of those guys who it's ugly, and he's probably going to be one of those guys you're looking up like week 16, week 15, week 16. Most people never heard of him, but he's in there making starts for the Colts that are, 4-11 or whatever it is. That is within the range of outcomes. And there's probably, Miller, I think, and Leonard are really kind of top of that list in terms of guys who, you mentioned it. It's really about the rushing upside as well, because there are some guys who, could end up making starts too, who will probably draft in this last round. But I do think these 2 guys, just based on the rushing upside and the depth charts that they're on, feel good about them maybe going over a half a start if things go according to plan.
Yeah,
or not according to plan, I guess.
Exactly. That they do not want to be starting Riley Leonard, but it's not out of question. And my comp for him has always been like Jeff Driscoll, maybe like Taysom Hill. When he's getting the ball, even if it's pass play, he's already looking to scramble, like he's looking to run. And that offense, with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, he does kind of fit that scheme. So yeah, he not out of the question he could get some starts this year and just offer a ton of rushing upside. So he was the other guy I was looking to get in this QB 68 free range.
Yeah, man, that's those. I think those are sharp plays. But we got one more round, so we got to draft. We got Ewers, Howard, Rourke, Kyle McCord, and Graham Mertz still on the board. Where are you going?
Yeah, this is tough because I think I want to go with um, Quinn Ewers, but I'm not going there. Not going there just because his ADP at QB 47, he almost has to make at least one start to pay off there. And I think that's possible there with, Tua and the injury risk. And then, he has Zach Wilson to beat out to get starts from there. I'm gonna have to pick one of these QB 68 guys. I think that's the key. So I'm gonna go with Graham Mertz, who would have to beat out Davis Mills to be CJ Stroud's backup. And I don't think it's outside the question. I definitely think it's a long shot. But Mertz, he was drafting the 6th round. He has decent film. So I think if he shows out in preseason, he could beat out Davis Mills. But I think just the fact that his ADP is QB 68 and he almost has the same odds of making starts as everybody else here. And I think Kyle McCord is dealing with he tore his ACL last year, so I don't even know if he's gonna be healthy enough to play this year. So I think I just have to take advantage of the QB 68 ADP here. But all these guys, it's gonna be kind of thin for them to see much, if any, playing time as a rookie.
Yeah, I totally get it. That is tough because I can't take McCord. I got to take one of these guys in this range now. So, and I kind of need the upside anyway because like I'm operating from behind since you got that first pick. So, I am going to go with Ewers. You got a very injury prone or at least concussion risk, a big concussion risk in Tua, where if he gets a concussion, even if it's not quote unquote serious, it could mean more missed games than usual just because of the history. And you also got Zach Wilson, who's, just kind of like Riley Leonard there, where it's like, all right, the backup, like the other quarterback is not very good, and he's shown to be not very good. So that gives me, I think, a little bit more upside of a guy like Ewers making starts than maybe like a Will Howard or Rourke's coming off an injury too, I believe, right? I think he's but he's intriguing, but the fact that he's only 6 spots lower than Ewers, who I think has a better path to playing time. Yeah, I'm gonna go Ewers, but I don't love it because I agree. I think he has to make probably multiple starts even to pay that off. All right, that's our 10-round rookie draft. We'll see how we do next year. We'll break it all down just like we did this year. To recap, Sean went Cam Ward in round 1, Jackson Dart in round 2, Dylan Gabriel in round 3, Cam Miller for the Raiders in round 4, and Graham Mertz of the Texans in round 5. I had 2nd overall pick. I went with Tyler Shuck in round 1, then Milrow 4th overall, Shore Sanders 6th overall, Riley Leonard 8th, and Quinn Ewers of the Dolphins 10th. Any other thoughts on these guys? I know Rourke, I guess, had, like, some people have been saying he could be like the next diamond in the rough. Any thoughts on him or I know we already talked about McCord.
No, this is where preseason we might see some guys pop up that I haven't really looked into much. But I'd say the guy I can't wait to see in preseason would be the guy drafted in round 4, Cam Miller, just because his rushing upside is clearly there, and he's coming out of North Dakota State, so sometimes those quarterbacks are hard to scout. So he's going to be the guy I'm watching very closely in preseason. Might ball out, especially in like DFS. Someone like Cam Miller, you could already kind of make money on in preseason, but he's guys specifically out of these like low end rookie quarterbacks I'm most excited to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Leonard as well for kind of the same reason. I just think there might be less of a gap between him and the guys ahead of him
right.
than we think. So, and of course Milrow, just because I think, to see kind of what he's working with, because he's a guy who could ascend quickly too if Darnold plays like he did over those last two weeks of last season. All right, that is going to wrap it up our quarterback rookie report here on the Fantasy Flex presented by Yahoo Fantasy. We'll get into running backs next week, so be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex podcast so you don't miss an episode. And of course, check out fantasylabs.com for all of our fantasy football content. You can download the new Fantasy Labs app. Use promo code FLEX20 for $20 off right now, an NFL subscription for the 2025 season. That's promo code FLEX20. You get access to 2 of the top 6 most accurate rankers over the past 3 years in season long, according to Fantasy Pros, rankings, projections, cheat sheets, and more. And if you're in the Chicago area, Saturday, August 23rd, Joe's on Weed Street. It is free to attend, but you got to RSVP. The RSVP link is in the episode description. That is our Fantasy Flex live event, August 23rd in Chicago at Joe's on Weed Street, presented by Yahoo Fantasy. You can find Sean on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Thank you again to our sponsor, Yahoo Fantasy, celebrating 28 years of fantasy football greatness. Until next time, let's get this money.